Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. I am absolutely thrilled to see so many of you and to see faces that I know very well and new faces as well. So, thank you so much for joining me. Today is going to be a mix of me teaching you some stuff, of you getting the opportunity to do some reflection. So you won't just be listening, you'll be able to actually map your work as we go using the notebook that I sent over. Sarah's just popped the link in the chat if you don't have it to hand, so you can click that link. And before we get started, just pop a quick hello in the chat and let me know where you're joining from as well. So we've got to know each other a little bit about what you do for work, what your freelancing is. Let me know where you are in the world. I'm in Bristol, Thailand, straight off. We're international, love it. Amazing. Greece as well. These freelancers travel. Bristol as well, Naomi. Hello. Amazing. There's going to be an opportunity for Q&A at the end. So if you're happy to keep yourself muted until then, that would be wonderful. And you're more than welcome to pop questions in the chat as we go if you can't hold it in your head. I know we've all got a lot of mental load going on. So if you're like, I want to ask this and I'm going to forget, pop it in the chat and our lovely Sarah will keep an eye on that and let me know at the end if I've missed anything. So, my aim today is for you to leave with a much clearer sense of why your ways of working may feel unsustainable and what needs to shift so that your work feels more steady, more contained, and genuinely sustainable for the long term. So we can do the good work that we do for good and not burn ourselves out. So, this workshop was very popular. All of a sudden, lots and lots of people signed up, and lots of people that I've not met before. So I wanted to do a quick reintroduction or introduction to myself for those that I haven't met yet. So starting out as a telephone fundraiser, which led to me heading up the telephone fundraising campaigns for British Red Cross across the UK. Since then, I've had a variety of fundraising roles, and in 2020, I was working in individual giving, memberships, and major gifts at Wales Millennium Centre when I was put on furlough. Being in a live events venue when a pandemic hits is not the place to be, but we weren't to know. Desperate not to be idle while on furlough, I started volunteering for other charities who had had to furlough their staff. Did anyone else do that? That felt like quite a thing at the time. If you were furloughed, you went and helped someone else. And I actually found through that I really enjoyed the variety and the broader impact I could have. So when I was made redundant for the third time before I was 30, may I add, it was quite enough of putting all my eggs in one basket for me. And I decided to get a part-time job at Water, a lovely little charity here in Bristol, alongside training as a coach, freelancing, and founding my business, Awen Coaching. By 2021, I took the leap and became fully freelance. We all use that term, don't we? It might be something you are, might be something you're aspiring to be fully freelance. And if I'm honest, I really did have many of the same experiences that we're going to speak about today. I was saying yes to too much, ignoring blatant red flags, wondering where my next piece of work was going to come from to pay my bills, and trying to build a business while also doing the actual client work itself. Over the last 6 years, as well as my own fundraising, training, facilitation, and consultancy, I've coached hundreds of charity professionals, both those working in-house and as freelancers. And what I've noticed is that although the work itself is often quite different, the challenges of being freelance in this wonderful sector that we all work in are often remarkably similar. Whether you are a fundraiser, a marketing consultant, you work in comms, data, finance, design, they are all relatively similar ways of working. And this is what actually led me to this year creating Freelancers for Good and developing this framework that I'm going to be sharing with you today, because I don't think that charity freelancers need to care more or work harder. you're absolutely not here today to talk about hustle. I hate it. You are some of the most caring and hardworking people I have ever known. So I don't think you need to work harder and I don't think you need to care more. But what I do think we all need are businesses that are steady, that are designed to support us and our lives so that we can keep doing the incredible, impactful work that we care about sustainably without getting motion sickness from the feast and famine roller coaster or burning ourselves out for the fourth time. So, I want to hear from you. You've heard a little bit about my story now. Tell me in the chat, why did you go freelance? Why did you leave your in-house role? What drew you to running your own business? So, Katie's already popped in the chat there that she was made redundant. So have a think for us. What was it that made you moving countries, Jenny? Interesting. Maya did it for the flexibility, wanting variety and stretch. Yeah. Wanted control of my own work. Absolutely. Toxic work environments. Yes. Variety, able to support more. I've spoken, I'm not covering it today, but I've spoken a lot actually about the difference between having depth of impact and breadth of impact. I'm definitely one for wanting breadth of impact. I feel like the variety of coaching, a freelancer working with three charities and a leader working in a cancer charity, and in my day I can have a positive impact on so many different causes, and I would imagine that as freelancers you also like that kind of breadth of impact, but for some people depth of impact is more their bag and they would rather work for one organization and have a really kind of a deeper impact that way. You were bored, Ruth. Yeah, fair enough. Okay, burnout. Can you see the patterns here, guys? I don't think any of you have written something that someone else hasn't also written in the chat. There's a lot of similarities there. And I hear this all the time from the free charity freelancers that I coach. I either feel completely overwhelmed or like I don't have enough work. So quickly in the chat, yes or no, is this familiar? Do you either feel like you are completely overwhelmed or you don't have enough work? Yes, 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 yes. Well, that's why you're here, isn't it? That makes sense. So, one week, everything might feel completely full. You're in back-to-back calls, tight deadlines, juggling multiple projects, trying to keep everything moving. And then a few weeks later, it shifts. Projects wrap up, your inbox goes quiet, LinkedIn starts to feel like a performative desert. And instead of a relief, you start to question, do I actually have enough work? Should I be doing more? Do I need to start looking for a proper job? Maybe my mum was right. Was this not a good idea? And so you do what most of us do. You say yes quickly, you take on what's in front of you, red flags and all, and you figure it out as you go. And then a few weeks later, everything lands at once again. So if that feels familiar, I just want to say you're not alone. This is very common. Look at all of those yeses in the chat. It is a roller coaster, Beth. You're very right. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you need to be more organized or more disciplined or better at managing your time. What we're going to look at today is something much more fundamental than that, because once you see the structure of your business clearly, you can actually start to change it in a way that actually feels more steady and sustainable. So what does this look like day to day? You might have weeks that feel completely crammed. Everything feels on fire all at once. You're reacting more than you're being intentional. Evenings start to disappear so you can catch up. You tell yourself, this is just for now. I'll just work really hard this week and then next week will be easier. And then it just keeps happening. You're saying yes to work or extra tasks really quickly, often on Zoom calls with clients because you want to be helpful, you care about the work, and just because it feels easier than pushing back in the moment. And then the next month it shifts and you go quiet. And instead of feeling relieved or grateful for a breather, a worrying panic starts to creep in, and then the cycle starts again. So this can go on for years if nothing interrupts it. And it can feel like you're the problem, and you're not. You could feel overwhelmed because everything is happening at once. Deadlines, campaigns, or events clash. Clients need you at the same time. Everything feels chaotic. So you start to feel exhausted because there's no containment around your work. You're sacrificing your energy, life, and soul to get shit done. Then work goes quiet because projects end at the same time. You've not had time to focus on your pipeline, and LinkedIn, as I mentioned, starts to feel like a performative desert. Not a place we want to be. So you start to feel worried because income is dipping and that panic is setting in. So you say yes quickly because it removes the discomfort, proves your mum wrong, and gets you able to pay your bills. And then we're back again to feeling overwhelmed. And the tricky part is that every step in this cycle feels like the right next thing to do at the time. But this cycle is what happens when the types of work making up your business aren't working together properly. So let me know in the chat. This is going to be your first workbook or notebook exercise. So grab the PDF. If you've printed it out, extra points, although environmentally, probably not. Pop it in Canva, edit it, or just note down in a notebook, whatever feels comfy for you. How does your freelancing feel right now? Let's get descriptive in the chat as well, if you're comfy. Thanks, Sarah. It's linked in the chat again if you need it. So are you in a phase where things feel quite overwhelming, lots going on, maybe a bit reactive? Literally reactive, as Hannah typed it in there. And a bit demotivating. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, is it overwhelming? Is it too busy? Did you consider not coming to this workshop live today because you had too much on? That's a red flag, isn't it? Sorry for those watching the recording. I'm calling you out. Or are you in a quieter phase where things are slowing down after maybe a busy end of the financial year, and there's a bit more space, but also maybe a bit more uncertainty? Going from one extreme to another. Yeah. It's gone from really busy to very quiet, which feels scary. What was that? I got an email. Got an email last night at 8:30 for a deadline today. Absolutely not. No, that's not okay. Always quiet this time of year, trying to stay calm as this always happens. Keep the head, as Scots say. I wish I could do a Scottish accent, but I won't go there, Rebs. Okay. Thank you for popping in the chat how your freelance work feels right now. That's not just for me to hear how it feels for you right now. It's for everybody in this room, because being freelance can feel really lonely, and it can feel like that roller coaster that you're on has one seat and you're at the front, and it's terrifying. But actually, we're all on that roller coaster, aren't we? All of us, every single one. There's like 8 carriages here. You're all on the roller coaster together. And this is actually really amplified in the charity sector. The fact that you're feeling this way isn't just happening to you in your spare room. You're working in a sector where things don't move in neat, predictable timelines, unfortunately. Funding decisions don't follow your calendar energy or the audacity to want some time off. They come in when they come in, sometimes late, sometimes suddenly, sometimes all at once. For your clients, internal capacity is often really stretched. Teams are under-resourced, and what that means is that what should have had a plan often becomes urgent at the last minute, and that urgency more often than not gets passed on to you, dear freelancer, because you are capable and trusted, you get shit done, And because surely that's what they're paying you for. And you want to prove your value. And on top of all of that, there's the emotional layer as well, because we all care about the causes we work for. We care about the beneficiaries, the people we work with, the organizations, the outcomes, the impact. And let's face it, our reputations as well. So when something feels urgent, it's far harder to say, I don't have capacity for this right now. So you step in, you make it work, and you absorb the pressure. And over time, what happens is urgency starts to completely reshape your week every week. Other people's timelines start to dictate your capacity. Your business becomes reactive by default. You used to hate being micromanaged, and now you've given yourself six bosses who are all telling you to jump, and you're waking up in a cold sweat in the middle of the night screaming, how high? Does that relate? You didn't leave in-house for this. If your business doesn't have a structure strong enough to hold that pressure, it will always land in your nervous system. And that's why working on your business, like we're doing today, not just in your business on client work, that matters so much. We absolutely cannot remove all the pressure and stress from the sector. I would love to, but it's not realistic, sadly. But what we can make sure is that your business is designed in a way that doesn't require you to absorb all of that stress and pressure. So I want to give you an example because at first glance, Natasha here, who is an amalgamation of lots of different clients I have coached over the years, please no one feel singled out in if you're on the call today. Natasha's business actually looks quite solid. She works 4 days a week. She has four retainer clients. Each client has a dedicated day. It's neat, structured, repeats every week. On paper, that's what a lot of people think they're aiming for. But here's the reality. There is no space in this structure, no breathing room, no flexibility, no time for business development, no room for anything unexpected. And life is unexpected. Natasha's dog needs to go to the vet. Her mum needs some care after an operation. Her toddler brings home a bug from preschool. She's out for a few days, and suddenly everything starts to unravel. Work piles up, deadlines don't move, clients still need things, and she goes straight into catch-up mode, losing evenings, weekends, trying to keep everyone happy, trying desperately not to let anybody down. And that feeling doesn't really go away because even when she's back on track, there's still no space in this system to build a pipeline, to network, or to get support. So she's constantly slightly behind, constantly catching up, constantly waiting for client sign off to move things forward week after week after week. I've coached people in this exact situation, and they often think themselves or their clients have a time management problem. But actually, it's often a business structure system. She has built a business based entirely on one type of work, retainers. And because of that, the business looks stable, but it doesn't feel stable. Can you see where this might be happening in your own work? If you're comfy to share in the chat, I have seen you are chatting away. Because this is the point where people might realize it's not just about having steady work. Like having a retainer can be something that people really like aim for, and it's definitely helpful. And I'm going to talk about how to work that into your business now. But I think it's really unhelpful to book all of your days like you're working in-house just for four different organizations. What it's about is having the right mix of work. So that's what we're going to build on now. Okay, so what does a steady charity freelance business look like? What I've found through my own business and from coaching freelancers over the years is that steady freelance businesses are not random. They do not happen easily or by accident. And they are often built on at least three different types of work. And that must have interested you because that was the name of the workshop today and why you are here. So this is the point at which I'm going to explain what these three types of work are. So stay tuned. When all three types of work are present and working well together, your work can feel sustainable, contained, predictable, much less reactive, and heaven forbid, actually enjoyable. But when one is missing or you're overly relying on one of them, that's when things can start to feel unsustainable. The easiest way I found to explain this to my clients is this framework triangle, because I've loved Maslow's hierarchy of needs since I was in uni. Who's heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Yes. Okay. So this is an ode to Maslow. So let's start at the bottom. This is the steadiest of the steady. So in your workbooks, you've got three boxes with the different layers in there. So maybe write down what in those boxes, what you kind of think of as your kind of steady work. Now, I do warn you, this is usually not the most thrilling part of anyone's business. Nobody tends to post on LinkedIn saying, I've just signed a lovely, sensible 2 day a month retainer. Like, it's not sexy. But it's much more exciting to announce a huge project or a conference keynote or an exciting new client. But this layer actually pays for the exciting work and the exciting decisions. So this is your retainers, your long-term clients, your associate work, your regular days each month where someone knows exactly what you're going to be doing and you know roughly what you're going to be earning. Rachel, I don't have any steady work. Okay, so we've learned something today. You've got an action to take away already. I love it. Um, okay. So what does this create? Well, this might look like 2 days a month of bid writing, monthly fundraising oversight, a regular strategy session, board or leadership support on a regular basis, or being kind of someone's go-to. And yes, it can feel a little bit like your old employed role. And it can feel a bit like, oh, I left freelance. I left in-house to go freelance, so I didn't have to kind of be working with people this closely or be part of the kind of bureaucracy of an organization. But there's a difference here if we get this right. You get to choose it. You define the boundaries, you set the scope, and you design how much steady your business needs. So while we're going through this framework, think about your personal risk appetite. Are you somebody that really wants to be as steady as possible? Like, is the one thing that you missed from your last in-house role the steady salary? Like, do you really, nods, yeah. Do you really want that kind of steady, that steady income? In which case this layer should be a non-negotiable for you. Think of this layer as what helps you sleep at night. It's the bit of your business that lets you think, okay, the bills are covered. I don't need to panic, accept every opportunity that lands in my inbox. Because without this layer, this this doesn't mean I don't want you to go out and get 5 retainers and have a completely predictable week, because that's not the goal here. We are looking at this as simply a way of being able to have enough of a foundation that the rest of your business doesn't have to carry the entire weight of your income. And a quick word of warning, because I see this all the time, some of the biggest mistakes that people make with this kind of steady work are that you undercharge, that you quietly let scope creep. So you might work with an organization for years and years and years. You started off doing this, charging for this, and all of a sudden you've taken on more and more responsibility and it's snowballed and you've not increased your prices in 5 years and it's just going on and on and on. And you might start to feel like an honorary member of staff as well. And that can be really tricky, like legally, if you start kind of acting like an employee or they start treating you like an employee. And you might actually forget altogether that you're actually running a business. I think a lot of us don't think of ourselves as business owners. So I'd love to know in the chat, what does your steadiest of the steady look like right now? Or if you don't have one, what's kind of one steady piece of work you'd secretly love to have in your business? Yeah, retainers absolutely work well for certain types of work and not others, and certain types of clients. Yeah, would love to work on retainers, Rebs. Yeah, one paid day a week as an employment contract, which pays. Yeah, lovely. That's great, Beth. Ruth dislikes this kind of work, that you'd rather battle instability without it. Fair enough. This is why we go freelance and run our own businesses, because we want control over what we're doing. Rachel has a consultancy retainer, but only for 6 months. We have a small leadership mentoring coaching roles around 2 hours a month. You'll see Bernadette is seen as an extension of the team, but as a positive. Yeah, that's brilliant. And if it's working for you and working for them, I'm not against that at all. It's just something to really keep an eye on, because it you can get taken advantage of and it can kind of snowball. Um, okay, I'll keep an eye on the chat, but let's move on to the next one. So moving up a layer, this is your strategic stretch. This is the interesting work, the work that lets you properly use your expertise, the work that makes you think, oh, I love to get my teeth into that. It's your campaign strategy, your trust and foundations overhauls, CRM migrations, systems projects, what else? Fundraising strategies, big defined pieces of work with a clear deliverable outcome. This is the work that often helps you and your business grow. It stretches you, it deepens your expertise, it often commands maybe a higher fee, and it gives you brilliant case studies and referrals. And often this is the reason many of us went freelance in the first place. You get to solve interesting problems for organizations you care about. But I think this is where charity freelancers can get themselves into a bit of trouble as well, because one interesting project comes along and then another and then another. And then before you know it, somehow you've got four huge pieces of work running simultaneously. One client's changing direction, another project timeline has slipped, someone's funding decision has been delayed, someone else just needs a quick tweak on something for the eighth time. And suddenly every project is competing for your attention at exactly the same time. So the biggest mistakes I see here are that scope can quickly expand, timelines can drift, pricing based on days rather than impact or deliverables, and saying yes to too many exciting opportunities at once, either out of FOMO or out of concern that next month you won't get asked to do anything. But here's the thing, good project work should have edges. You should have a beginning, middle, and an end, and you should know what's included. The clients should know what's included, and ideally, everybody should know when it's finished, because your strategic stretch work doesn't. If it doesn't have boundaries, it slowly starts behaving like steady work, except without the predictability, and that's really exhausting. So the other thing I want to say is this layer isn't supposed to carry your entire business unless you want it to and you're allergic to steady. That's okay. Your steady work gives you confidence that you can keep doing this. Your stretch work helps you grow. And that's why we're building this in layers. The foundation underneath gives this layer permission to be exciting rather than stressful. So I've got a question for you, and I'd love you to have a look at your workbook. Where does strategic stretch fit right now? Are your projects neatly contained, or have a few of them leaked into every corner of your week? Yeah, it's exciting work. It's hard to say no to. Absolutely. Yeah, I've had I'm coaching somebody at the moment who's a finance and operations person. She's got a few retainers, but then the projects come along and she's like, but I love this one and I love this one and I love this one. And it's like, oh, can't say no. So I spent far too long trying to think of a more professional name for this, but I couldn't because this work is a bit sexier. So it's the email that lands in your inbox that makes you think, oh, I'd love to do that. It's the speaking engagement, it's the conference facilitation, it's the training session, the away day facilitation, the quick consultancy project, the 1 or 2 day piece of work, or the client who's heard about you and says, are you free next month to do 3 days for us? This is the work that keeps freelancing fun. It's often the work that gives you energy. It's great for visibility. It introduces you to new people, creates opportunities you couldn't have planned for. And sometimes one spontaneous project turns into strategic stretch work, or even a lovely piece of steady work over time. So this layer plays a really important role in your business ecosystem. But, and there is quite a big but with this one, sexy is not the same as sustainable. So I think a lot of charity freelancers accidentally build their entire businesses here or try and build this upside down. So they might be waiting for the next exciting inquiry, next referral, next conference, next quick project, or the next organization that pops up needing urgent support at the last minute. And that works until it doesn't, because this work arrives when it arrives, not necessarily when your bills need to be paid. And the biggest mistakes I see here are relying on it for most of your income, saying yes because it's exciting rather than because you have capacity, and letting these lovely opportunities completely derail the week you'd already had planned. Um, But if you've got a solid, kind of steady foundation underneath you and some lovely strategic stretch projects helping you grow, you can absolutely say yes to this work or even seek this work out actively by connecting with people on LinkedIn, writing emails, getting out there, putting yourself out there for this kind of work. Because you not because you have to, but because you want to, and because this is one of the nicest parts of building your own business. I went to the CIOF convention last week, and it was a wonderful day. But if I didn't have the other parts of my business keeping me steady, that would have felt like a luxury and something that I couldn't possibly kind of give time to. You can enjoy the spontaneity without depending on it. And a business that's actually something that you're choosing to do and that you're being like intentional about is really important. So the steadiest of the steady gives you security. The strategic stretch helps you grow, and the sexy, spontaneous short term keeps your business fresh, visible, and interesting. None of these layers are supposed to do the whole job on their own. They're a team. And if we can build all of them in whichever ratios feel best for you, your energy, your risk appetite, that's where this is going to feel really good. So do any of you do any of this kind of work? Do you do speaking, training? What's one opportunity you'd absolutely love to do more of in this kind of category? Media training, and I really want to grow it. Yeah. Training, but often for free. Yeah, okay. Well, that's something that can be developed. Okay, so most freelancers who come and work with me are trying to build a business using 1 or 2 of these types of work. And what that means is that income fluctuates, workloads feel unpredictable, and decisions feel quite reactive. And some try to build this upside down, as I mentioned, focusing on speaking engagements and short-term work first, which is why it feels unsustainable and very wobbly. You don't build a triangle upside down, do you? So projects can create pressure, short-term work can create disruption, and the whole thing starts to feel a bit chaotic. If you're missing a layer, it can be difficult to know how to fix it, and because often it's invisible. And most people, say you're somebody that has all of their work in strategic stretch, you might be thinking, oh my goodness, this is quite a roller coaster I'm on. It's feeling really quite volatile. Some months I've got loads of work, some months I've not got enough. And most people that are in that situation try and fix this by working harder and by adding more of the same instead of changing the structure of their business. More of the same clients won't fix that. You need to redesign your business structure. I don't have energy for layer three. Fair enough. Although you can just make layer three whatever you do have energy for. This is not, you don't have to do it this exact way. It could be something that works for you. So there's the shift. You don't need more work. You just need the right mix of work structured in a way that actually feels steady and sustainable for you and your unique business. So where does passive income fit into all of this? This is a question I get all the time. Quite often, people who start thinking about wanting to grow their business or grow their income look to passive income. And I want to start by saying something really clearly with my big sister energy, something that you may not want to hear. And that is that passive income is never truly passive. Sorry. All work takes work, whether that's writing, designing, filming, editing, promoting, marketing, or building systems around something. There is always energy involved somewhere along the way. So I think it's important to think about this realistically, especially in the charity sector where people are already carrying so much. For me, passive income isn't a separate category of work. It actually tends to fit into this framework, but flowing in the opposite direction. And I think this is helpful and a healthy way of understanding how passive income can support you and your business. Usually, passive income starts as spontaneous income. You might create something supportive, useful. It might be a template, a paid training, a downloadable resource, a toolkit, something that you have done that you can then sell ongoing. And at first, it's often quite small and sporadic, which is why I think it fits in that top layer. But it might quietly start to bring in occasional income to support your other work. Maybe it covers a software subscription, it covers your Zoom, whatever, or it softens a quieter month slightly. And that's really valuable because all of a sudden, not every pound you earn is directly from your live capacity anymore. So it can feel, quite exciting. Then over time, if you decide to develop that piece of passive income further, it can often become stretch work. So if you dedicate more time to it, you improve it, build upon it, create a system, expand the offer, promote it more intentionally, become known for it, at that point, it becomes more strategic. But that does require planning, creative energy, visibility, and kind of business development. And then eventually some of these things move into a more steady layer. So you've grown your email lists, perhaps you're known as the go-to person for campaign planning, for example. And you've got workshops maybe that are continuing to sell in the background, resources that are quietly generating income while you're focusing elsewhere on client delivery work. And that's where passive income starts to feel more supportive and expansive. Um, and in the chat, I would love you to let me know, have you ever considered developing passive income? If so, what? Let's have an abundant mindset here and share our ideas. This is not about making you millions or replacing your whole business so you can sit on a beach in Bali. Sorry. But when passive income works, your business is no longer relying entirely on your live energy every single minute. Training, yeah. Always felt like it sounded a bit dodgy. It's just you as a service provider creating a product. I don't think there's anything dodgy about that. I'm sure there are dodgy people out there, but develop Notion templates. Okay, nice. Okay. So this absolutely is not a magic solution, but it's definitely something to bear in mind and to think about, because it can evolve and strengthen the rest of your business. So let's grab your workbooks and write down on exercise 2, mapping out what you currently have. So not you what you wish there was, not what you think it should look like, but the truth right now. It's page 4 of your workbook. In the first column, write down every piece of work you currently have. So it might be client retainers, one-off projects, strategy work, training, speaking, associate work, passive income like digital products or resources, or anything else that brings money into your business. You can also include the kind of slightly messy things here too. So a client who only comes back every few months, a project that was supposed to be small but has somehow become unwieldy, a piece of work you haven't invoiced for yet, the work that feels almost confirmed but is taking up space in your head. It all counts. We're definitely not trying to create a perfect business plan today. We're actually just trying to see the shape of your work really clearly. And this is a way of looking at your business that you perhaps don't do very often. And when we put it all down in one place, you can start to notice things that you couldn't see while you were carrying it all in your head, or if you're anything like me, in the 64 tabs on your browser. Okay, so now next to each one of those, I want you to write which of the layers you think that that piece of work corresponds to. So is it layer 3, spontaneous? Is it layer 2, that strategic stretch? Or is it layer 3, steadiest of the steady? Is it a steady piece of work? Is it a defined project? Or is it more spontaneous one-off work? Okay, now let's look at this really honestly. So where is most of your time going? Where is most of your energy going? And where is most of your income coming from? Again, feel free to pop anything in the chat that you would like. So in terms of where your time is going, let's think about, not where you think it goes, not where you want it to go, not the hours that were on the original agreement, but where's it actually going? And then that energy question, what feels heavy? What takes more out of you than it should? What lingers in your head even when you're not working? And then income. This is sometimes the interesting one, actually, because those three things don't always line up. And often this is where people see a bit of a shift, or you realize, oh, that's why I'm feeling like this. Perhaps your time, energy, and income are being pulled in different directions. What's paying you the least might be taking up the most amount of your time. What's paying you the least might be taking up most of your energy, for example. Okay. So which layer are you missing from your business right now? This often equals how you might be feeling. So if you don't have enough steady work, you might feel anxious. And there's this constant voice asking, where's that next piece of work coming from? If you don't have enough stretch work, you can start to feel a bit stuck. You're busy, but you're not growing. You're delivering, but you're not developing. And if you don't have enough or any kind of spontaneous things, things can just feel a bit beige, maybe. Your business may well work, but it might not excite you anymore. There's nothing new coming in to challenge you or energize you. And if you don't have any kind of passive income, you can feel quite tired because every pound you earn depends on you showing up, being available, and having capacity. And when we work in-house, you kind of have not always. I've definitely burnt out in house, but you have peaks and troughs of energy, don't you? You get to have a bad day out of 12 or whatever. But when we're freelance, we kind of have a feeling that we have to be on top form all the time. So that can be really exhausting. Now, I want to be really clear here. I don't want you to strive for equal amounts of each layer. The way your work is structured depends on your skills, your services, and your risk appetite. So, looking at your map, which one of these feels most true for you right now? Are you feeling bored, stuck, anxious, or tired? Tired, stuck, but also tired. Yeah, I mean, it would be a combination. Bored, stuck, and anxious. Oh, I want to give you all a hug. Okay, let me show you a slightly different example. I know we're running out of time, so I'm going to do this quickly. This is Abby. She's a freelance fundraising consultant specializing in community and events. And again, she's an amalgamation of my clients with a lovely stock image, so nobody is being personally victimized here. When she started working with me, she wasn't short of work. In fact, she was fully booked. Campaigns back to back, events filling her calendar, projects lining up. From the outside, it looked like things were going really, really well, but how it felt for her was very different, and that's why she came and worked with me. She was constantly delivering, but never quite feeling secure. I saw in the chat earlier, all my projects have ended at once. That's the kind of situation that Abby was in. There was no steady work holding things in place, no time to think about what was next, no visibility, growth, or spontaneity or business development. So, as soon as one project started to come to an end, the pressure would kick in. What's next? Do I have enough? Am I failing? And then she'd fill that space super quickly, which meant the cycle just kept on repeating. So what we did is we mapped out our work, very similarly to what you have done now, but in lots of depth. And she saw that everything that she was doing sat in layer 2, the strategic stretch. Lots of good work, but nothing secure enough to keep her feeling stable month to month. So she made a few really intentional changes. She started working with one retainer client, 2 days a month, clear deliverables, clear boundaries. She reduced the number of overlapping projects. She got a bit stricter with herself about what she said yes to and the time frames. Maybe she didn't say no, maybe she said no, but not until August. Yes, but not until September. Like, she started taking control of her business. And she made sure that the projects that she did take on in that middle layer of strategic stretch were properly scoped and properly defined. So she was still busy, but things felt completely different, more contained, more intentional. And when things were quieter, it didn't feel like everything was about to fall apart, because her goal wasn't to stop being busy. She loved her work and she loved the impact that she had, but she wanted it to feel steadier. So when this framework works, you stop chasing work in the same way because you're not relying on one project ending to create space. You stop overcommitting because there's a clearer sense of what your time is already being used for. And you start choosing clients more intentionally so that you can stop saying yes to bloody everything. And busier periods still happen, but you feel more in control and they feel less overwhelming. Quieter periods still happen. Everybody has those, but you don't have to carry the same level of anxiety that you do right now. And this is what a steady freelance business actually feels like in practice. So I want you to note down in your notebook, page 6, exercise 4, what is one small shift you are going to make? Tick any that apply. I need to add more steady work, something that holds things in place, a retainer or a long-term relationship. I need to contain my stretch project work better, clearer scope, defined timelines, stop it leaking into everything else. I need to protect my week from spontaneous work, stop saying yes to everything. Retainers, interesting, yes. And from that, what's one small shift you're going to make? Are you going to put yourself out there to talk at a conference? Are you going to create a bit of training that you could have as passive income? Are you going to try and secure a a retainer client? The work we've done today is exactly what I support charity freelancers with every week. It's redesigning your business to work for you so that you can stop trying to replicate what you did in-house and expecting a business to work in the same way. Because with my big sister energy, spoiler alert, it just won't. And so that you can stop trying to fix what's not working in your business by adding more of the same or by working harder inside it and burning yourself out. And so you can stop saying yes to everything in fear of not having any work next month. This is exactly the work that we do together properly over 6 months in my program, Freelancers for Good. In fact, there's a good few people on the call today who are already in the program. And they are currently going through module 1, where we start to understand why everything feels so urgent and reactive, spotting pressure patterns and conducting an energy audit so that you can have a deep understanding of how you currently work, what's working, what isn't, and what needs to change. And then we redesign your business in a way that holds under the real pressure of the charity sector so that you can feel the positive impact that you want to have doing work you actually enjoy while earning money you want to earn and living the life that you want to live. Freelancers for Good is currently fully booked, but there is a waiting list. I'm not taking anybody on in June because June is a special month for me where I will be spending lots of time with my little family doing wholesome things like swimming in the sea, eating pasties, and letting my children cover themselves in sand and ice cream, hopefully not at the same time. But when I open up spaces again towards the end of June, I'll be inviting people from the waiting list first. There are only 6 places to join in July. So for those on the waiting list who decide to join the July cohort, I will conduct a services audit. I will look at your website, your LinkedIn, and anything else you're happy to share with me, those dusty old PDFs that you've got hanging around. And I will give you my honest feedback on what could be clearer, redesigned, or improved so that you can start to create a steadier business before you even join the program. So if that feels like something that would be the right next step for you, my lovely Sarah is popping the link in the chat so that you can join the waiting list. And I will be in touch in the next few weeks after my lovely trip with my family. Please remember that it is possible to do good and be well. You don't need to do more. You don't need to care less. You just need a business that doesn't require you to carry and feel everything all at once. You absolutely deserve ways of working that support you as much as you support the causes and clients that you work for. Thank you so much for joining me for this workshop today. I would absolutely love it if you were to join my July waiting list to be in with the chance of getting that lovely bonus of a service audit from me before you even join the Freelancers for Good program. I'm very excited to hear from you. Thank you for your time and for watching this recording. I know that you're all super busy and I hope you have a brilliant rest of your day.